Hey everybody, my name is Jen, the Caffeinated Crafter, and welcome back to my channel. This is going to be Flosstube Extra. We are going to be discussing loop starts today. I know a lot of people have been requesting a video, like a demo about this. I'm just using a scrap piece of 18 count Aida, and I'm going to be using some black floss so it's easier to see. And I'm going to demo a regular two-stranded loop start. I will do a one-stranded loop start. It's like my fourth time trying to film this because I keep coughing. So if I can, I'll do a three-stranded loop start. And then I'm going to show you how to do a two-stranded loop start, but with two different colors. Just in case, like for people who are doing blends or something and they're like, oh, I can't do a loop start because I'm using blends or I'm using an over-dyed floss that I can't fold in half or anything. You can still do a loop start with it. I'll show you how. Okay, so a standard two-stranded loop start is you take one length of your DMC or whatever you're using, CXC, Royal Embroidery, whatever. You take one strand of your floss. I normally will hold like when I'm cutting a length, I will do hand to elbow and then double it. Like I'll do I'll hold the end in my hand, I'll run that length down my arm to my elbow, and then I fold that in half, and that will be my length. And I sometimes will go like a little bit past it. I'm just using a shorter length because we're just doing a little demonstration here. So you have your length, you're gonna fold it in half so that the two ends are together on one side. Get in the frame, Jennifer. So you fold it in half so that your two ends are on one side. Let me put this down. Like this. Oh my God. Two ends on this side. This side, your tail, or the end that's gonna be like starting off is your loop. So thread your needle with the correct end. Hang on. There we go. So when you have your needle threaded, the tail that's hanging off of the needle is your two open ends here. I'm trying to separate them so you can see them, but this end that's hanging off of the eye of the needle is your two open ends, and then the other end is your loop right here, okay? Now, I do my bottom leg left to right. My top leg goes right to left. So that's how my bottom leg looks. So that's how we're gonna do it. If your bottom leg looks like this, you do the exact same thing, but in those holes instead of these two holes. So I'm going to call the bottom left hole 1. The top right is, actually we're just gonna go in a square. 1, 2, 3, 4. So bottom left is 1, top left is 2, top right is 3, bottom right is 4, okay? So you're gonna go down in 2, which is my top, which for me is my top right. You're gonna go down in 2, start pulling, and you're going to come up in 1, which is where you would normally start pulling, and then you're going to catch the loop with your needle just like this, okay? Catch the loop and then pull so that the thread goes up against the fabric like that. You can either go back down in 1 or back down in, what did I call that? Well, you know what, forget the numbers. So I went down in the top right, I came up in the top left, I caught the loop, it's tight. You can go back down either hole. It doesn't matter. But I'm just gonna go back down in the bottom left. And then you're gonna feel a little pop when that loop gets pulled through to the back. And then you just stitch away as you normally would. And then let me show you how So you just stitch away, right? This is how it looks on the back. Just like that. Very smooth if you care about that kind of stuff. Now, say you mess up and you're like, oh my God, I started in the wrong spot. I need to frog it. But it's so impossible to frog a loop start. No, it's not. So you frog your other strand, your other squares, right? When you get to the one that you started with, you can frog the top leg like you normally do, but then when you try to frog the bottom leg, if you can ever get your needle under the thread, you can see that you can't pull that out, right? No worries. Go to the back and you just pick something and you just start gently tugging, and you're going to find the part that's just the end of the, there we go, just the end of the floss, just like that. And you just pull the other part, and then there you go, just like that. So that's a two-stranded loop start. Let me show you a one-stranded loop start, because I know that's what confuses a lot of people. So you have your single strand here, okay? Thread your needle. Thread your needle. All right. Now, what you're going to do is, say I'm going to start over here, right? You go down from the top of the fabric anywhere, doesn't matter where, but you go down and you start pulling that. You're basically leaving a waist, like a waist tail, not a waist knot, a waist tail. You're going to come up in the top right, and I'm holding on the back, I'm holding it with my fingers so that I can kind of keep that thread smooth and keep from putting too much pressure and doing that right there, because I wasn't paying attention. I'm also not in frame. Let's do that again. So you're going to go down from the front, doesn't matter where, start pulling, and then whatever square that you're starting in, you're going to come up in the top right. And like I said, I'm holding this with my finger until that tail almost gets to the edge, almost, but not quite. You got a little bit there. So now where do you go from here? You go back down in that same hole to make your loop. Go up in the bottom left. Catch your loop either when you pull that needle up like I just did, or you pull your needle out and then catch the loop. And I do usually do these a little bit slow in the beginning so I don't accidentally pull this all the way through before I'm ready. So you gently tug until that thread is up against the fabric, and you go back down in one of those two holes, gently pull, and then you finish your X as you normally would. That tail will eventually get pulled through to the back. I'm talking about this right here. That will eventually get pulled through to the back. Or if you left it a little bit longer, you can clip it once you get a few more stitches in. And the bottom leg of that first stitch will have two threads in that bottom leg from doing that loop. But it doesn't matter, because usually if you're doing a one-stranded loop start, it's on a higher count, like a 32 count or something, or like a 25 count, 25, 28, 32. Even on this 18 count, you can't really see that two strands very well. So, and then on the back here, this is that tail. It will either get caught up in your stitching and get secured down, or you could just leave it as is. Hang on one second. Let me take a drink of my beverage. So you can either let it get caught up in the stitches on the back and get secured down, or you can clip it closer to the fabric. Hi, Gracie. or you could just leave it. It doesn't matter. I just leave it. I don't bother. I don't bother with all that mess. I just leave it. Leave it hanging. And then same thing if you have to frog. You just get in the frame and then you frog. And you frog your top leg. Because this is a one-stranded loop start, sometimes it's actually a little bit easier to frog that single strand out than it is to when you're doing like an actual loop start, like with 2 strands. But then you get to that end, you find your deal, you just pull it out. Now, let's go ahead and do a 2-stranded loop start, but with 2 different colors. That's not what I wanted. I wanted there it is. I was like, I had a blue thread that was about, it was shorter. That was about the length of the black. So I just have get in the frame. I just had like a blue and a black here that I wanted to show you. Let me just cut off this excess of this blue strand here. I wanted to show you how to do a 2-stranded loop start without, where you can't double the fabric, like where if you have over-dyed or a blend. So you have your 2 strands of either your over-dyed or your 2 different colors for a blend, and you painstakingly thread your needle, cursing your eyesight as you do it. Okay, so you have your 2 strands here. Hopefully you'll be able to see it, but I have a blue and a black. And really the idea is just to kind of show you how to do this. You don't really need to see the blue and the black, but you do the same thing that you do with a single strand loop start, and you do this with 3 strands as well. You go down somewhere away from where you're going to start stitching, start pulling, and you're going to come up where you're going to start your first stitch, start pulling that through, go back down. And when you first start doing this, you could leave a longer tail that's like that's hanging out in the front. You could leave it that long if you wanted to, if it makes you more comfortable. Sometimes I do that because sometimes I'll leave like a really short tail and I'll go to do it and I accidentally pull it all the way through and I'm like, and then I do it again and I'm like, and so I do it a 3rd time and I'll leave a longer tail and then I'll just clip it once I actually get this kind of stabilized. So you go back down in the same hole that you came through to form your loop. Then you come up. There we go. I ended up catching my loop when I came up with the needle. Pull it so it's snug. Go back down. And then there you go. Just like that. Do I use a loop start all the time? No, I don't. But it does make it a lot easier. So there we go. So we had regular 2-stranded loop start with the thread folded in half. If you wanted to do a 4-stranded loop start, you would do the exact same thing. If you, and then there was a single strand loop start and then a loop start with 2 threads, but not doubled. And then same thing, if you want to frog it, you go all the way till you get to that bottom leg of that first stitch and you're not able to pull it out, you just flip your fabric over. And you just gently, you work your needle under there and you just find the part that's going through to the front first, and then you do that again for the other part that's hanging out there, because this is the part that's looped. And once you do that, you can pull it out. So there's that. If you have any questions, you can go ahead and leave them in the comment section down below. I hope this video was helpful for you in doing a loop start. And yeah, I think that's it. So take care, happy stitching, get a lot of stitches in, and I will see you in the next video. Take care, everybody. Bye-bye.